Don in London, hello. April 17th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. And I don't know whether you can hear the dogs barking from downstairs, but they can be a bit of a nuisance. They go on forever when their owner's out. Anyway, my videos all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. And my addictive substance is, or was, and is alcohol. And I don't drink anymore, one day at a time. And the behaviour which went with it, trying to be perfect, never so, fearful, 1,000 forms of fear, and gently these days trying to make one day work. If I'm making one day work, it means I'm dealing with my history as well as my present, and if I don't worry too far ahead, but have a few stakes in the ground about what I need to do, then life is much easier to manage, or to live the choices we have. And a lot of what the programme of recovery for me is fellowship, and the fellowship I attend regularly, daily if I can, is Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know what, I still spend less time in recovery than I would have been drinking, and the gift is, now I'm not drinking, I have a life. I've got a life of emotions, some spiritual connection to the moment of now, and physically the best I can be given my age and circumstances. So recovery doesn't mean it's all going to be perfect. It means we make relative progress in each day, making the best of what we have in front of us, and to live and to experience it. And I don't speak for AA here, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, but I do utilise the tools of the programme, the 12 steps, 12 traditions, and understand them the best way they work for me and for the people around me. And that includes fellowship, family, community, society. So I'm not a spokesman for AA, I couldn't be with what I do here. So these videos are my own experience, strength and hope, and things I'm learning as I go along in one day. However, I'm an absolute fan of AA, and I share the preamble and literature readings here. And the preamble, which is said at every meeting here in London, of which there are some 600 or 700, I don't know how many exactly, it's in the Where to Find book, which is available from any good meeting you might attend. The preamble goes like this, and it explains what the fellowship does. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And you know, in these horrible economic times, where people who had some, I guess, fortune materially are now losing their shirts, and this applies to people in the fellowship. We are subject to every condition known to mankind, same as everybody else, and sometimes we feel like we've got a bit of armour because we don't drink a day at a time and we get our choices back. But the unfortunate thing is that we are still able to get any physical ailment, any emotional upheaval, and not be able to use our spiritual connection to now. So the gift really is, if we practice something daily, get some decent routines going, even though the world can sometimes seem like it's against us, we realise that we're just simply human beings. And human beings are subject to everything that nature and providence can offer or take away, and that's just life. So maybe, I'm not fatalistic, but accepting of what is and what is not. That can be hard, actually. You know, when you get a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes in recovery, not associated with drinking, and then also because of the extra facilities available to me via the diabetic clinic at the hospital, they properly diagnosed my clinical depression and how it's been, and how I've had a deficit in all the hormones which make life easier and normal. Life has got a bit better, ironically, 2 other conditions, and I feel better than I did before, but that can change, and as I shared over the last 3 months, it's been difficult, as resuming medication for diabetes and depression needed to change to find some balance again. medications come and go, but fellowship of AA has been the rock-solid platform, if you like, I suppose my foundation for living today. And, you know, without the fellowship, I would have not met lots of people, unique, authentic, and different, with one similarity, just not drinking one day only. And some of us are really practiced and get more than a day long, and some are not so practiced. But the most important thing always is to welcome any newcomers. And yesterday, in a very big meeting, there were 2 or 3 new people, and 2 or 3 people back from going out for a relapse. And what did they do when they relapsed? They came back pretty darn quickly, because there were lots of fellows and fellowship around to say, why not come back? Not come back, you silly old fool. They said, why not come back and get back on the programme and just start again for another day. Simple as that. So the pragmatic amongst us say, keep coming back no matter what happens. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who's been out for quite a while. I just hope they do get back before their life is ruined completely. And I don't mean in a material sense, although that's slipping away. I mean emotionally, spiritually and physically, because alcohol takes the lot. So for me, I'll stay with recovery just for today, and I better get on with the readings. Daily Reflections today is pretty good for me. I did have a look at it earlier. April 17th, love and fear as opposites. All these failings generate fear, a soul sickness in its own right. Fear knocked at the door, faith answered. No one was there. I don't know to whom this quote should be attributed, but it certainly indicates very clearly that fear is an illusion. I create the illusion myself. Fear knocked at the door, faith answered. I experienced fear early in my life, and I mistakenly thought that the mere presence of it made me a coward. I didn't know that one of the definitions of courage is the willingness to do the right thing in spite of fear. Courage, then, is not necessarily the absence of fear. During the times I didn't have love in my life, I most assuredly had fear. To fear God is to be afraid of joy. In looking back, I realized that, during the times I feared God most, there was no joy in my life, and as I learned not to fear God or nature and providence, as I've just mentioned, I also learned to experience joy. So, you know, in the old days, isolated and excluded, if I got type 1 diabetes and got properly diagnosed with clinical depression, I would have probably isolated and drank myself to death, because that's all I knew, and I was fearful. I'm not so fearful of type 1 diabetes, but I know it's the silent killer, and if I don't watch it, I'm in trouble. And I also have to be aware of where my mood goes. So, you know, it's not an easy ride in recovery, but the gift is I'm still alive. And, you know, I do get some good days, some awful ones, same as everybody else. Anyway, as Bill sees it, another book I use in these videos, page 79, Whose Responsibility? An AA group, as such, cannot take on all the personal problems of its members, let alone those of non-alcoholics in the world around us. The AA group is not, for example, a mediator of domestic relations, nor does it furnish personal financial aid to anyone. Though a member may sometimes be helped in such matters by his friends in AA, the primary responsibility for the solutions of all his problems of living and growing rests squarely upon the individual himself. Should an AA group attempt this sort of help, its effectiveness and energies will be hopelessly dissipated. That is why sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of AA's 12 steps, and the 12 traditions actually, is the sole purpose of the group. If we don't stick to this cardinal principle, we shall almost certainly collapse, and if we collapse, we cannot help anyone. And you know, that is so true. So there is only one reason for going to AA, and that's to not drink a day at a time, and have a desire not to drink a day at a time. Life can be infinitely better if we are able to see reality, and that's simply really what fellowship does. We can't solve the world's problems, but we can make sure our eyes are open to the reality of what is going on around us. So when people say the serenity prayer, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It is just for today, and if we are seeing reality, we have a better chance of making the best of what we have.